All right, greetings and salutations. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 124, coming to you from the Watchdog Pine Room Studios in downtown Wheeling, here on another warm spring day. Couple days of March Madness already under our belt, with plenty more coming this weekend. We got a ton to talk about on today's show. We're going to hit on some hockey, some baseball, of course, college basketball. We'll save that for basically the entire last half an hour of the program. It's going to be all college hoops talk here as we, we're embarking on another year of March Madness and another NCAA tournament. We got the first four games already underway, and we got some games in the book. Actually, by the time you hear this show, there'll be one whole day of games already under the belt, so hopefully we got a few winners left over, or we got you a few winners. Again, BLS_PRP. You can find all these out ahead of time, ahead of the show. Some stuff is time sensitive on the days we record, so if you want to follow the picks that we have every day and not miss out on any of them, BLS_PRP on X is where you want to be. But we're going to talk hoops, of course, golf, little Formula One, NASCAR, AFL round number 2. Starting off this weekend, we got a little tennis to touch on there. We had a tennis winner last week at Indian Wells, and we'll look at the Miami Open a little bit. Nothing massive there, but a few observations and a couple of leans and maybe a few tickets that would be worth putting in. Soccer, little bit geared down this week. No Premier League, no Champions League, so we're off until April there, but we'll touch on a few Nations League games. Don't have any picks yet for these. Gotta wait and see who's going to be available for these teams, but BLS_PRP, you can find them on the weekend. If there's anything that I like in the UEFA Nations League, I will have those up for sure. All right, recapping last week here on the Watchdog. And we were up 18 units, 18.65. Not our very best week, not by any means. It was quite terrible, actually, in golf. We're back to our usual selves in golf after having Russell Henley winning it last week. We did not come through with the winner this week. We did not have Rory McIlroy. And even if we did, we're giving a guy out at 3.5 to 1 or 4 to 1. It's just not something that I'm going to do here. You could say, well, it doesn't matter if you win. Well, yeah, but you're having to put an advanced stake, a higher stake, on someone like that to turn a profit, whereas you can keep the stakes minimal and hit on guys that we've given out here in the past and pay off a little bit. We don't usually give out guys less than 20 to 1, maybe the high teens in some of these really good tournaments. So we'll talk a little Valspar Championship. Not a great field for the PGA this week, but again, 18.65 units to the good here on Bettor's Last Stand last week, and we will try to improve on that. It wasn't our best. We had Indian Wells winner for the women, Mirra Andreeva. Gave her out on the show. I don't know. It was way back before Indian Wells even started. We mentioned her as being a play that we wanted to get on because she'd been playing so well. She won over in the Middle East, and she has just been exceptional. And some of the wins that she had, coming back and beating Iga Swiatek and then beating Aryna Sabalenka back-to-back matches is just incredible for a 17-year-old. But we spotted this girl a long time ago. I mean, back probably when she was 15, probably over a year ago now. She's now just turned 17, and she showed signs of being great way back. We gave her out at some of the majors, to hang in, make the qualifier. She actually made it. I want to say it was the French Open, maybe, that she made a deep run in, or perhaps it was Wimbledon. I can't remember, to be honest, but she made a deep run there. That was kind of her welcome to the scene. But if you were listening to Bettor's Last Stand several months ago, we talked about Mirra Andreeva and how good she was going to be, and she's not grown into her body yet, and she's just maturing right now before your eyes, and just a really nice young lady, and really plays her butt off and seems to have the respect of so many of the really good tennis players that are on the circuit right now. So that's a really cool thing to see, and it's great for her. And I expect her, Indian Wells isn't a major, but it's right there. So she's won 2 massive tournaments here in the last month. So keep an eye on her. Pressure gets tough for these young kids as they continue to win, and the the demands for their time from the media and all the exposure that they get, that can weigh on people. So we'll see. Hopefully she fares better than some of the other players over the years. Sabalenka struggled with just pressure and things like that early in her career, but Andreeva so far has not struggled with that at all. So hopefully she continues to stay up near the top, and she's going to have an incredible career, and hopefully we'll keep having good prices on her. So I thought 6.5 to 1 on her was very, very good, but she beats two of the two best in the world right now. But I would say Swiatek's on her way down. She's falling apart right before your eyes. I've never been a fan of hers. I thought she was way, way, way overvalued, like as in her prices were too short for any value to be had on them. And she's just not that good of a hardcourt player. Now people are catching up to her and being able to beat her, and she is not taking it well. She had the doping situation. She's snapping at ball boys, smashed a ball at a guy the other day. I mean, it's just a really bad look for her. She's a nut. I'm not a fan, and I don't mind seeing her deteriorate because although I do like that she's in these tournaments because I'll be continuing to fade her. It's like having players in there that you know aren't going to win, but they're driving the odds up on the people that you like. So that is a good thing. So anyway, congrats to Mirra Andreeva. Congrats to us for having her 650. We'll take that anytime. Back to golf. We were awful once again. Minus 220. We were down 2.20 units. That's actually good compared to what we could have been down, I feel like. We had a couple guys in the top 10 that weren't bad, but overall awful. Not anywhere near McIlroy, but it wasn't a very good tournament, to be honest with you. A lot of bums up near the top, and if you thought J.J. Spawn had any prayer beating Rory McIlroy on Monday morning, you're insane. So that was over before they even pulled up to the clubhouse. Soccer 14-8 over the week. EPL we were 12-4. We continue to be very, very good in the EPL. I'm not sure how we're getting that done, but we were very, very good there. Lille hurts us in Champions League. Boy, if we'd had Lille coming through, it looked like they were going to have a chance of winning both games against Dortmund. Couldn't get it done. They fall short. We go 2-4 in Champions League matches, so not our best there. In the EPL, though, 113, 63-5, run 62% over the last 11 weeks. We're up 80.25 units. We keep building on that, so I'm going to keep it going with that run and keep tracking it until we level off. And, there's only, about 9 matches left, maybe something like that. So we're winding down. We're getting towards the end of the soccer season, which is really sad, but that's okay. We got other things to keep our focus on. 15-11-1 in Champions League, up 15.15 units on the run in Champions League football over the last several weeks. AFL round number 1, we were pretty good there too. 8-4. It didn't start out very good, but we got pretty hot on Sunday. I think we might have swept the board. We had a very good Sunday. NASCAR, Daniel Suarez, we come up just a little bit short. He can't get it done. He's 60-1, and we couldn't get by Josh Berry, who was a deserving winner at Vegas, and we had Alex Bowman 7th, a couple of other guys just outside the top 10 with Busher and Keselowski. F1, Kimi Antonelli, he makes his first start in F1, and he gets a top 6. He did not start high on the grid either, which is a really good sign. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on him. I think he could be an up-and-comer that I want to watch. George Russell hits the podium, so we hit 2 of our F1 bets. Oscar Piastri was not able to outdo his teammate in Lando Norris, who took the checkered flag there in Melbourne. College basketball, 2-4 in our conference tournament plays. Our outrights, I believe we had Akron. I believe we had St. John's. Nothing else hitting for us in basketball. NHL. So we haven't talked a ton about NHL over the last few weeks because it was like a little bit of a transition. We had the 4 nations. We had a trade deadline. We had a lot of other things going on right here. But wanted to get back the NHL, put it back on the front burner a little bit right now. Penguins had played pretty well until the other night when they blew a 2-0 lead to the Islanders. And maybe they had a little bit of a hope for making it into the playoffs, but I would say that's pretty much done now. But the NHL is really, really hard to figure out right now. Teams are, the powerful teams are not always winning these games. They're struggling in certain spots. And goaltending, it becomes a little bit of a problem. Depth scoring is a problem. As I say many times, there's too many teams. They need to retract a couple of these teams and not add more because the depth scoring on these teams is really poor. It's hard to find teams with good up and down the lineup scoring, and it's really hurting the game. But trying to identify a winner of the Stanley Cup is going to be really, really hard, so you can find a little bit of value there. Dallas takes a massive hit. Miro Heiskanen now they're saying is not going to be back until maybe the second round of the playoffs, and that's a maybe. So without him, you got to have your best puck-moving defenseman, and even with him last year, they couldn't get the job done. They acquire Rantanen, that's a good acquisition, but if they don't have good blue line play, they're just not going to be able to be a factor to win it all. They're not going to be able to beat Colorado, and unfortunately, probably not Edmonton either with the blue line as it is right now. They'd have to get great goaltending, and I'm just not sure Ottinger is the guy. He has not shown it yet at all in a big series or big game. So I'm not interested in Dallas whatsoever. They are the Cup favorites right now. I'm totally not on board with them at all. Avalanche 10-1 to win it all, 550 to win the Western Conference. I can get behind them a little bit. Goaltending is so-so. They got the two, in my mind, Nathan MacKinnon is the best player in the world. I think he proved that at the Four Nations. He was the best overall player in that tournament. Not even close. And then you have your best defenseman in Makar. So those two guys alone will give them a shot. 10-1 is not a great price, but Colorado I cannot dismiss yet. And also in the Western Conference, my pick in the West right now, if it were to end right now, would be Vegas. 12-1 to win it all, 6-1 to win the Western Conference. I think they have the best team. Up and down the lineup, I feel like they have the depth. I feel like they have a good blue line. I feel like they have proven goaltending, not to the caliber of elite, but stable, whereas they're not giving up like Tom Barrasso back in the days for the Penguins. It wasn't that he wasn't giving up goals, but he wasn't going to let in the easy ones. And that's all you need when you got a team like that in front of you, is just don't give up the really bad goals, and your team will end up winning the game 5-3, 6-3, whatever. You can still give up 2 or 3 goals, and you'll still be fine. But you can't give up 4 and 5, and you can't give up bad goals. So I think that the Golden Knights have that going for them, which is a positive. I have them as the clear-cut favorites in the Western Conference, in my opinion. Now, the Jets are also 12-1. They've tapered off a tad. I'm still not sure about Hellebuck after the Four Nations loss. Thought maybe that I heard people mention about that propelling him if they could have won that, and I agree with that narrative. Not certain that he's going to be able to stand up to the tall tasks of being able to stop Edmonton, Colorado, and back-to-back series, or Vegas. I mean, you're going to have to beat 2 of those 3 teams, or maybe even throw Dallas in there. That's not going to be an easy task, and I'm not sure that Winnipeg has the wherewithal as a team to be able to hold up there. Do I want to like them? Yes. Do I wish that they could be the team that I would get behind? Absolutely. But there's just something missing with them. I watched a couple weeks of their games, maybe like, I would say 3 or 4 straight games where I had action on their games, and they couldn't score. They really struggled to generate any offensive pressure. So I think that's also a concern. So I'm not real warm on Winnipeg. So Vegas, if I have to pick, Vegas is my team in the West right now. And then in the Eastern Conference, if it's not Florida, who I'm still curious to see how Florida works this out with their new acquisitions with Marchand and Seth Jones. Florida's a really good team. If they continue to get good goaltending for Bobrovsky, they're going to be right there in the Eastern Conference. So right now I have Florida. They're plus 650 to win it all. It's a tad bit short, 3-1 to win the Eastern Conference. But I think Washington is a legit contender here. They're 11-1 to win the Cup, 5-1 to win the East. I think they and Florida right now, clearly the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference. Tampa Bay is a team that I'd try to get behind. I made an effort to even dive into their team a little bit more and see what is kind of their strengths and weaknesses, but they're really lacking the depth that they had a few years ago when they won it, which is obvious. Their team got poached. That's what happens. You have a good team, your guys are in demand. They get overpaid for, and they brought a few of those pieces back to the team, and they're seeing if they can catch fire again. But their blue line's not as good. Still got Vasilevsky, still got Kucherov, still got Point, but not quite the depth that they had of the 4 lines. And Brandon Hagel's done his job, but yeah, so Tampa, I can't get behind. I don't think they could beat Florida or Washington, but they're still not bad. They're 11-1, 5-1 to win the East. So right now, if I was going to recommend exacta betting for the finals, it would be Vegas versus Florida and Vegas versus Washington. Those would be the 2 future bets that I would have in hockey currently. Let's shift it over to tennis. We got the Miami Open going on right now. Aryna Sabalenka, who just lost to Mirra Andreeva. I don't think Mirra's playing in this. She might be, but I actually, maybe she is, but I did not see her name on when I looked through the brackets really quickly, but I could have easily missed that. Sabalenka was 155. She was the favorite. Coco Gauff, I expect her to bounce back a little bit here. She likes this tournament. She's played well here in the past. Danielle Collins won this last year. She's 14-1. She was supposed to retire, but her game has been so good. It's hard to turn down paychecks when you're making it to at least the quarterfinals of these big tournaments. So Danielle Collins, the American, playing pretty good right now. Not certain I'd back her to win this, but I think that she is somebody that maybe you can figure will make a deep run. You could probably play her in a few matches this weekend if she has a reasonable matchup and a reasonable price. You don't want to lay $4 or $5 with her, but if she's minus 220 20 or something like that. Maybe you play her minus 3.5 games or something, and you get a good price on her. She would be worth looking at. Elena Rybakina, whose game is not quite where it needs to be yet. She's working her way back into form. She was the runner-up here the last 2 years. Lost to Collins in the finals, so she's another one. I feel like her game's starting to come a little bit back into form, but she still got to go deep in a couple of these tournaments to make me believe. Ekaterina Alexandrova, she's played very well here in the past. She's 750 to win it all. She's been really strong recently and played well here at Miami the last 2 times, so I think she's worth keeping an eye on as well. I'm going to probably bet Collins, Rybakina, and Alexandrova to make it to at least the quarterfinals. Probably bet Goff to win this, and maybe even a little bit on Collins and Rybakina. Rybakina's price a tad low for me for her form, so maybe Collins and Alexandrova to win it along with Goff. Probably won't bet Sabalenka to win it at minus 155, but it will not shock me if she does. I'll be playing her, though, to make a good run. She played very, very well last weekend. She absolutely blasted Madison Keys in the semifinals, and Keys had been playing the best tennis of her entire life coming off a major win. So Sabalenka's still really sharp. Andreeva had to really dig deep to beat her. So I think Sabalenka is a deep runner here, so I continue to play her minus her games in most of her matches. I think she makes a good run there. And then on the men's side, there wasn't a whole lot that interests me there. Francis Tiafoe not quite back to where he needs to be at. Jack Draper won last week for the men at Indian Wells. He's been really good. He was really, really impressive. I thought Holger Rune could maybe get him. He could not. But I think Zverev, Sasha Zverev, who bowed out early in Indian Wells, which is kind of stunning. I think him well-rested coming back here. I think he's determined. I think that was just a one-off. His form has been very, very good over the last 8 months to 10 months. He's been great. So Zverev at around 3-1, I think he's worth it. Maybe even take him just to win his quarter or his half. He can still get that at a plus price. So Sasha Zverev on the men's side at the Miami Open. And I'll have plays for the Miami Open throughout the weekend as well. BLS_PRP is where you're going to want to be for those. All right, let's switch it over to baseball here briefly. So baseball, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into baseball, but with basketball, I know everybody wants to hear about what I think. I'm sure nobody does, but anyway, for argument's sake, we'll pretend that there's a couple of listeners out there at Bettor's Last Stand that actually care about my opinions and don't want to fade me. But hey, that's okay. However you win, that is totally cool with me. But I want to talk a little bit about baseball. I'm going to recap what I had as futures that I gave out a while ago and added a few division winners and a couple of other things to the portfolio here this week. All right, so back in late January, we gave out the Royals over 82.5, the Reds over 68.5 wins, the Giants over 79.5 wins, the Nationals over 69.5 wins, the Twins under 83.5 wins, the Cubs under 87.5, and guess what? They're 0-2, so a good start there. Dodgers putting them in an 0-2 hole, so that might come back and help us as they finish up the Tokyo series just the other day. And if you didn't catch any of that, those Japanese baseball fans are awesome. I mean, you talk about an incredible environment. Tokyo Dome was rocking, not just because they have Japanese players. That just adds to it, but they just love baseball. It is so cool to see sports where there's no hostility. It's everybody in unison. They're all cheering. It's like they cheer for both teams. It's really kind of cool. It's like, obviously, you have teams that you like and your favorites, and you're going to cheer for them. But they just seem like they really appreciate having the baseball teams there, playing their butts off, really good baseball. Best players in the world right there in their backyard at the Tokyo Dome. It was really neat. I enjoyed it. It was a good watch, and I wish MLB would have promoted it a little bit more. I didn't even know about it. I never heard a commercial. I never heard anything, so I'm assuming they advertised it pretty hard in Asia, but maybe because it was a 6 a.m. our time, they didn't want to waste money. But back to it, Cubs under 87.5. Kansas City to win the AL Central. That's another one I followed up when I go through my division winners. And Cincinnati to win the NL Central at 6-1. Making the playoffs, I have the Nationals at 8-1, the Reds at plus 240. Obviously, they win the division. Even if they don't, plus 240 still on them. And then San Francisco Giants at plus 210. Also adding the Diamondbacks to that to make the playoffs. I think the Diamondbacks are going to be very, very good. They add some more pitching with Burns. They have a good lineup. They kind of had a little World Series hangover last year, but this team is really rounded in. They got some really good young players. I have a young shortstop who might not even make the team. So they have a good team. I look for the Diamondbacks to bounce back a little bit, as I think Texas will too. But Diamondbacks, Dodgers are going to win that division just because. But in a series, Diamondbacks, you never know. They could beat them, no doubt about it. Early February, I gave out these ones, some add-ons. NL Central last place team, the Pirates, plus 230. It looks like Jared Jones, and I can't be quoted on this yet, but sources that I'm tapping into are saying Jared Jones has a elbow injury or require Tommy John surgery. Apparently he's going for a second opinion, but it does not look good for him. Paul Skeens over 220 strikeouts. I love that bet. That's a plus price. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. He's not going to be able to win enough games for the Pirates, but, man, he's going to be very, very good individually. Red Sox to make the playoffs at even money. I think that's a really good bet. They added Crochet. They got Buehler. They got Brian Bayo. They got Giolito. So they have good players, and they bring in Alex Bregman, and they have an incredible lineup now. With Cassis and Jarren Duran, who ironically is my next bet. Jarren Duran over 30 steals. I think this guy is one of the most dynamic leadoff hitters in the game. He can do everything. He can play defense. He can hit. He can steal. He can throw. He does everything. He's a five-tool player if there ever was one. I'm not saying he has massive power, but he can't hit. So Jarren Duran over 30 steals, absolutely love that. Jarren Duran MVP. It's a long shot, but if the Red Sox are as good as I think they might be, he's 30-1. And that gets a little bit of momentum, and you don't have Ohtani in the league anymore, and you don't have Juan Soto in the league. So if you outduel the Yankees, which I'll get to, and the Yankees are in trouble right now, if you outduel Aaron Judge, you got a real chance at this. So Jarren Duran to 30-1 makes a lot of sense to me. Tristan Cassis, 30 home runs or more. Love that for the Red Sox. I think he's got a real shot. He's going to be driving in a lot of runs. Garrett Crochet to lead the league in wins at 22-1. Cole Reagans, I also like him from the Royals. We gave the Royals out to win their division. I like Reagans. Michael King from the Padres to lead the league in strikeouts. I like him a lot there. I think he's just starting to scratch the surface of how good he's going to be. And Brandon Pfaadt, again, for the Diamondbacks, another guy who was very young when they made the World Series a couple years ago. This guy's starting to grow into his body, starting to understand how to pitch. He's got great stuff. He's 90-1 to lead the league in Ks, and I think that is very, very live. Division winners, I think Boston's got a real chance here. Plus 350. Will it all work out for him? I don't know. But Craig Breslow, former reliever for the Red Sox, done a great job in the front office of figuring this out. They did not overspend when a lot of teams were. They waited. They've been not so great the last couple of years, but they've been waiting for the right pieces to come together. This year, they made the moves. I think they're going to be good. They're plus 350 to win the AL East. I like it. And if they don't win it, I think Baltimore will. Baltimore's got to figure out the pitching. If Grayson Rodriguez, who's still hurt, could ever be an ace, then maybe it would change things. But they don't have enough pitching. They're going to have to rely on their lineup of their young players, getting better, another year better under their belt. Maybe Adley Rutschman has a bounce-back year. He did not have as good a sophomore year. But still a good team for Baltimore. Bullpen back intact with Bautista back. I like them a lot better than New York, although the pitching is still a concern. But Boston, to me, far better than the Yankees on paper, and I think that they've addressed their bullpen as well. I think they'll be better, and I just don't think – I think the Yankees are going to have a little bit of a hangover from last year's World Series. I think they feel that slip through their fingers, and they are not going to get a better chance than that, and I don't think they will either. So I'll go Boston and Baltimore 1-2 in the East. I think they finish in that. If you can find that exact order or just the box up, you can get a good price on that, keeping the Yankees out of there. AL Central, of course, we gave out the Royals months ago. They're down to 270 now. I gave that out at 4-1 back in January. It's down to 270. So some steam on the Royals there. AL West, I like Seattle. I think Seattle made enough adjustments in the offseason hitting-wise. I still think Arozarena will be decent there. So I like them. Their pitching staff's really good, and I like Seattle. I think the Astros will be a tad bit down. Not bad. Texas, I think, will come back up. So I think it's going to be a 3-horse battle there, and I would expect that Seattle has enough pitching to get the job done there. NL East, really good division. I think Philly goes backwards. I know everybody's picking Philadelphia. I've heard people say contract year for Real Muto, and who would be the other one? Castellanos maybe. Anyway, two guys on a contract year. Maybe this is like, okay, this is our Schwarber, I think it's Schwarber. So I could see that narrative, but I feel like the Phillies too, they had their chance and they didn't capitalize on it the last 2 years. So I feel like they're going to take a small step back. I think you're not going to see Wheeler and Nola perform the way that they have. I mean, they've been lights out. They're going to start to see either a plateau or a decline from those guys. So I'm going with Atlanta. I think Atlanta finally starting to get a little bit healthy. They still don't even have Ronald Acuna back yet. So once they get him back, I think Atlanta's got a lot of momentum here. I know they lost some guys, but they got Strider back. He looked great. I think he struck out his first 5 hitters the other day in limited action, so they'll be easing him back in. But I feel like Atlanta – it was they had an awful year injury-wise last year. I feel like they're not going to have it as bad of luck injury-wise this year. So I think they're on the up and up. I'll take them at plus 110 to win the East. And then, of course, the Reds in the Central, sticking with them with Tito Francona. Now, I do know they lost their catcher for an extended period, which could be a little bit of an issue. But I still like the Reds a lot. I am just not sold on the Cubs at all, and I'm not sold Milwaukee can keep it up. Willie Adames being gone from them is a massive loss. Pirates will not be a threat. And St. Louis, I don't know what they're doing. They've been trying to trade Nolan Arenado for like 2 years, and they can't figure out the right deal. So they just tell me they're not really concerned about winning. So that's a worry. Playoff teams, I mentioned it, Diamondbacks, Nationals, Giants, Reds, all those teams in the mix for the playoffs for sure. I think at least 2 teams out of the AL East make it, Baltimore and Boston. Probably the Yankees maybe get a wild card, but I don't think they win the division. AL Cy Young, Tarek Skubal's going to be hard to beat for the Tigers. And the Tigers are pretty good last year, and they're kind of getting ignored, I will say. I've even overlooked them a tad. I just still be a little bit worried about their bullpen and their depth of their pitching and their lineup a touch. They struggle in the playoffs to score. Skubal, though, to win Cy Young, I can't argue with that. 3-1. But Crochet, if he leads the league in wins and it team's really good, plus 550 on him, I think it's worth a sniff. Cy Young in the NL, to me, it's Skeens or nothing. I mean, this dude should win this, no doubt about it. If he stays healthy, he's going to win it 3-1. It's a steal. But I will say, if he has any hiccups or he gets shelved for a few weeks or something, I think Corbin Burns could re-find himself down in Arizona and with a good team and some winnable games against your Rockies and things like that, which is kind of helpful from time to time to play those lousy teams in your division. I think that Cy Young could be Corbin Burns again in the NL at 12-1. So he won it in the NL before, went to the AL for a while, was good for the Orioles, but not great. So we'll take a shot with Corbin Burns at 12-1. AL Rookie of the Year, Jacob Wilson. Jack Wilson's kid. This dude's going to be really good. He's 13-1, plays for the A's. He's going to get to play a lot. The A's are going to be a lot better. They're going to be playing in a little AAA park in Sacramento. I think he can put up some really good numbers. I think A's players over their totals could be some strong stuff this year in many regards, whether it's just day-to-day or in future betting. NL Rookie of the Year is probably going to be Sasaki or Dylan Cruz, I would guess. But so I can't really recommend anybody under the radar there. It's going to be hard to knock either one of those two off if they stay healthy. So those are my baseball plays. Again, you can find those BLS_PRP as we push towards spring training. A week from, I guess it'll be a week from yesterday. If you're listening to this on Friday, it'll be a week from yesterday. We opened things up. So Dodgers and Cubs got it going in Japan. But now it's time to get back here domestically and get all the teams cranked up. All right, let's go over to golf action. We got the Valspar Championship. Again, the Valspar, not a marquee tournament by any means, so nobody's ever going to mistake it for one of the big tournaments. It's obviously after the week after one of the big tournaments. So that's a concern. But let me go through these. BLS_PRP is where you want to go. We did not have anything good in golf last week. But this week I thought these were interesting. Lucas Glover, he was 11th here last year. You can find him anywhere between 45 and 60-1. He's been playing really well. Peter Malnati, I just wanted to mention this. He won this last year. He's like 900-1. I can't recommend a play on him because his form's been terrible, but he is the defending champion. Corey Connors played well last week. You can find him around 35-1, 25 to 35-1. Played well last week. I think this course suits him pretty well, so take a shot with him. Xander Schauffele and Tommy Fleetwood are the favorites here. Their price is too low. Xander's form's not been good, 15-1. He was 5th here last year. He's still getting into form. Fleetwood, 13-1. Can't do it. He just doesn't win, so pass on him. Matteo Manassero, a guy that I like on the European Tour for a long time. He's had a T20 and a T8 here at this course. He's 350-1. I think top 20, top 10 place for Matteo Manassero worth a shot for sure. Taylor Moore, he won here in 2023, 70-1 in some places. I've seen him range from 46 to 70-1. So a shot with Taylor Moore is recommended. Rico Hoy, 120-1 for this up-and-comer. I think he could be a guy that you're going to start seeing on the leaderboard, but 121, I'm not passing on that. Danny Walker as well, another young guy, 155-1. He could make some noise here. Cameron Young, he finally made a cut. He had missed 3 straight cuts. He finally made a cut last week. His game's starting to get back into it. 55-1 range, but I've seen as high as 80. He was 2nd here last year, so Cam Young definitely worth a play at the Valspar. Again, BLS_PRP. You can find all the golf plays ahead of schedule before we even give them out here on the show. All right. F1, NASCAR, I guess we will try to go through this as quick as we can because I know we want to talk basketball here on Bettor's Last Stand. Show number 124 here on the Watchdog Network, getting you ready for a wild weekend. Of course, Wheeling Central basketball, should they still be in action, we will have them right here on the Watchdog Network. We'll have all four championship games in West Virginia tomorrow in boys basketball from the Charleston Civic Center Coliseum. So tune in to watchdognetwork.com. We also got Mountaineer baseball here, and we got the Mountaineer women in action tomorrow in a well, they're either going to play Washington or Columbia, so we don't know that yet, but we will know it for tomorrow as they play at 2 o'clock. Again, Watchdog Network. You can find all the streams, and WKKX and WVOY as well. All right, F1. They got it going last week. Lando Norris took it down. We had good runs, though. George Russell on the podium for us. We had that bet. We had Kimi Antonelli from the Mercedes team. He was fourth, so, I mean, he's off to a very good start. Max Verstappen was second, so a solid run from him. Couldn't quite get to Lando Norris, but we'll see how this develops over the next few weeks. I'm curious to see how Liam Lawson will do. It was only his second race for the Red Bull team, but he didn't perform great. But I was impressed with Antonelli. He could be a very talented driver. Carlos Sainz, no good for Williams. But this week we turn to Shanghai, so we head from Melbourne up to Shanghai. Max Verstappen, the defending champion, he led 51 laps. Lando Norris was second. Sergio Perez was third here last year. Looking at the odds right now, once again, it is Lando Norris minus 105, followed by Max Verstappen at plus 355, and Oscar Piastri actually in between them at plus 340. I'm going to go with Piastri again. I still think he's the better value on this, and to me, going to overall be the better driver once he continues to get a little bit more experience. But I wouldn't dismiss Max either at this track. I think it suits him really well, and I think his car may have the drive it needs to be able to get by Norris or either McLaren and Piastri as well this weekend. So we'll go with Verstappen and Piastri on the podiums and to win. And we're going to go with Kimi Antonelli again to finish in the top 6 and get him at even money. I think that's very fair. And I also thought the two Williams cars, who I thought were pretty decent last week. Now, they didn't have great finishes. Carlos Sainz had a crash, so that was a little bit disappointing. But Alex Albon ran really well. So double top 10 for the Williams cars. You can get that at a plus price as well at the Chinese Grand Prix. Again, I'll post all those. BLS_PRP. All right, Straight Talk Wireless 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now, remember, we had Las Vegas last week, and now we're making the shift back to the East Coast. So an impressive win by Josh Berry. He won at around 80-1. Couldn't quite get by him. We add Daniel Suarez at 60-1, and again, we fall just short. We've had a couple of those beaten right on the rear fender of these winners. We had Hochevar a couple of weeks ago against Bell at a massive price, and then we had Suarez this weekend. So just missing out there. That's a little disappointing, but that's okay. We're going to stay focused on the task at hand, and that's bouncing back here on Bettor's Last Stand. Again, it was a very, very good run by Josh Berry. Suarez was second. We had Bowman, Keselowski, Butcher all run well for us. Ryan Preece, another great showing. William Byard, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, who's had a really good start to his season, racing very, very well as well. All right, so let's focus on Homestead. This is a track. You have several guys that have low prices here that we just can't recommend. You got Ryan Blaney at plus 480. You got Kyle Larson at plus 325. And you got Tyler Reddick at plus 420. Chris Bell, who has a really good average here, is actually up to almost 8-1. He might be worth a value pick here. I know that doesn't seem like much, but for the way he's been racing, he should probably be down in the 3 to 4-1 range, but he's about 8-1. William Byron at 6-1. All those guys are going to be hard to beat here. Blaney, who's had back-to-back bad finishes, which is very rare for him. He's due for a really good run here. 15.3 average, plus 480. Don't love it. I can't bet him plus 480. It's just a little too short. Tyler Reddick, 9.0 average here at Homestead, plus 420. Can't take it. Larson, 325. I just, no. So we're going to go to Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's one of your 3 times. He's got an average finish all-time here at Homestead of 10.5. He runs this track really, really well. And I look for Denny Hamlin to have a strong run at 11-1. Also like Chase Elliott at 14-1. And then I got 3 guys that are pretty good prices. Although Carson Hochevar's odds have been slashed quite a bit from week to week. He's not 36-1 to win this. I think he's run very well here, but in limited time, though. He hasn't had a whole lot of runs. AJ Allmendinger has been outstanding here at Homestead Miami. He finished 8th here in the race last year, and back in 2023, he was 5th. So AJ Allmendinger, not a guy that I give out a whole lot other than maybe a road course, and usually there he's overbet, so we don't ever recommend him. But at this track, he's sneaky good. So at 75-1, Allmendinger will be in the portfolio this weekend. And Ryan Preece, I mentioned him earlier. He's been racing very, very well, and it's no wonder. I mean, Ryan Preece is a guy who had a lot of talent, and he had the opportunity to race and compete at the big restrictor plate tracks, and he had done that throughout his entire career. He's had some horrific accidents. If you haven't seen those, look those up. Incredible that he's been able to walk away. But now he's on a real team. He's on the RFK team. He's got real stuff underneath of him. So now you're actually getting to see that Ryan Preece was actually a really good driver. It was the equipment that was limiting him. So at 70-1, Ryan Preece, he has at least a top 13 in his last 2 times here at Homestead, Miami. He was really good here last week at Vegas. So I'm all in on Ryan Preece as well. So again, Danny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, my top plays, followed by Carson Hocevar, AJ Allmendinger, and Ryan Preece. Again, you can find these plays at BLS_PRP. All right, keeping it rolling here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 124 here from the Watchdog Studios. Matt here with you, getting you ready for a wild weekend, Wheeling Central hoops, and all the hoop games from Charleston in boys basketball action. You can tune into the Watchdog Network, have all those games at your fingertips. Sticking on basketball in the state of West Virginia, the bad beats portion of the program. Boy, what a bad week for West Virginia basketball. They miss out on the tournament. Patrick Morrissey is trying to sue, which he looks like an idiot, but that's neither here nor there. Should they have got in over North Carolina? Probably. North Carolina then shows that they were worthy by absolutely destroying San Diego State. And in the meantime, as West Virginia declines bids to the NIT and the CBI and whatever other tournaments that may have wanted them, Darren DeVries leaves and goes to Indiana. All this with that happening within 48 hours. And man, what a terrible time. As Tony Creedy says, what a great day to be a Mountaineer. It has not been a great day to be a Mountaineer, and the Mountaineers make their home right here on this network, Watchdog Network. So we sympathize with the Mountaineer faithful who tune into the show and tune into all of our Watchdog Network programming. It has not been a very good week for you. Where things go from here, I don't know. Lots of candidates in the mix right now. Jared Calhoun. You hear Bob Huggins' name. You hear some upgrades from or promoting assistant within. I don't know if any of that makes any sense. I would say our good friend of the Pine Room and the Watchdog, Coach Crutchfield, former West Liberty coach, should be the first call that they make, seeing he went to school there. I don't understand why they wouldn't at least call him, but what do I know? He's the best basketball coach that I've ever seen, so why not give him a call? But anyway, hang in there, Mountaineer fans. It's been a very bad week. You still got the women in action tomorrow right here on the Watchdog Network. All right, more bad beats. Marquette minus 2.5 in the Big East tournament last week against Xavier. Marquette leads 89-84. The game's over. I mean, there's no way they can score. Xavier could score 2 baskets in a couple seconds. There's I think it was less than 3 seconds left, and a guy banks in a three-pointer, 89-87. So that stings really bad if you had Marquette. That was one of those in the book, if you're at a book pretty much anywhere in the world or North America at least, watching basketball, and you see that bank shot go in, it's a big it's like everybody knew what that basket meant to the number. So tough one there if you had Marquette. Atlantic Region quarterfinals. Here's another one. I can't really say this is a bad beat, but this is just more unfortunate luck. You saw Fairmont, who beat West Liberty in the Mountain East tournament over at West Banco Arena. Beat him, a couple of late tip-ins, a couple of credible plays in overtime. Great game, 122-114. Well, here we go, Fairmont. Back to reality. They were a 5.5-point favorite against Fayetteville State up at West Liberty the other day on Saturday. Falcons went 9 for 24 from the free throw line, including a 1 for 10 by Andre Harris, who was one of the heroes of the championship game against West Liberty. Falcons lost in overtime 74-67. So you got to figure they make maybe, say, even 10, 19 of 24. They probably win the game in regulation and probably have a shot at covering that 5.5. Industry news. Ahead of this week's basketball tournament, the NCAA has released a Draw the Line PSA, which is directed at bettors who abuse athletes, and I don't even put student athletes in here anymore, athletes and officials in person and on social media. So NCAA trying to make people aware of the horrible things that go on out there. And again, we are a betting show. We're all about betting here. We talk about it all the time. Very pro betting. But you can't abuse these athletes. You can't abuse officials. You got to use some sense. This goes way beyond heckling. This is now you just badgering these people because you lost money. It's just not right. FanDuel TV announces a new show focused on the problems of gambling and its recovery process. It's hosted by former gambling addict Craig Carton, so be curious to see how that show pans out on FanDuel TV in the coming days. Most bet teams In college basketball, we'll get back to those in just a minute, but let me go through the AFL plays this week. I don't have any soccer for you. Again, the UEFA Nations League, I may play some of those over the weekend, but I got to see who's going to be available for these teams first before we make any plays. And that, BLS_PRP, you can find that. But let's go Aussie rules football here really quickly. We would have Hawthorn and Collingwood on Thursday and Friday. We wouldn't have those games. But tonight, Friday night, if you're listening to this on Friday, it's the Adelaide Crows at the Essendon Bombers. It'll be Adelaide minus 6.5, total 174.5. Essendon, the last two games against the Crows have went over. I like the over as well, 174.5. I think there'll be some points there. And Essendon was really bad last week. I think Adelaide shows some signs that they could be decent. Maybe a small lean to Adelaide, but I do like the over 174.5. Richmond at Port Adelaide. It'll be the Power minus 37.5, total 174.5. Last two in this series have went over the total. And I can't believe I'm saying this. It was at our expense last week where Richmond embarrassed Carlton, and I mean embarrassed them. But Richmond played really, really hard. Now, they were at home. That helped them a lot. It really boosted their energy. Can they cover 37.5? I'm going to take a shot. I cannot believe I'm doing this. This was a team that I faded every week last year, and we have them under their win total. I don't think they'll win this game, but maybe they can hang around. They seem very motivated, played very well. I like it over 174.5 as well. That is Richmond and Port Adelaide. Geelong and St. Kilda, an early Saturday morning start. It'll be St. Kilda at home. Geelong laying 21.5 on the road. The total 172.5. Geelong scored 147 against Freo last week. They just humiliated them, and Geelong looks very young and energized right now, which is a good sign for them. St. Kilda gave up 135 to Adelaide. They got a lot of injuries. They may get some guys back this week, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I'll go with Geelong minus 21.5 on the road. And I'm going to go over 172.5 as St. Kilda's defense, which is usually their strong thing that's what they rely on, the strength of their D, and has not been good, and the injuries causing them to give up a lot of points, so we're going over in that game as well. West Coast, the worst team that I've seen so far at the Brisbane Lions. Brisbane minus 60.5, 177.5. Brisbane got the job done last week against Sydney in a tight one. Didn't expect them to play that well out of the gate. Lean to Brisbane, but like the under here. I don't think West Coast will break 50. They might not even break 40, so we'll go with the Lions. Lean to the Lions, but 60.5, I don't want to lay that. Probably worth laying, though. They might win this game by 100. West Coast is that bad. If you're going to do a side, you got to play Brisbane and then under 177.5. Melbourne at North Melbourne. Battle of Melbourne. It'll be the Demons on the road, minus 18.5. Well, they share the same stadium most of the time. 172.5 is the total there. So Jackson Archer for North Melbourne is banned for this game for a dangerous tackle. He's appealing it. I don't think he'll be available. Melbourne also had a couple guys out. They had a guy with a fractured larynx, and they also have a guy suspended for a dangerous tackle. So I think it offsets a tad. I'm going with North Melbourne here, plus the 18.5. They played very well last week. They covered for us. They had a shot in that game, and I think they've lost 6 straight to their rivals. I think they get the job done this week. You can get them at about plus 235 on the money line. I like North Melbourne to win this game, and I like the game under the 172.5, and I also take them plus the 18.5 points. And then on Sunday, it's an early 3:10 kickoff or bounce. Sydney Swans at the Fremantle Dockers. It'll be Fremantle minus 7.5, a total 166.5. Swans have won four out of 6 against the Dockers, which I thought this line was a little bit odd. Fremantle got blown out by Geelong. They will get some of their guys back, I believe. But Sydney played all right against Brisbane last week, losing a tight one. And I think points are going to be had here. I like over 166.5, and I'm going to take the Swans plus the 7.5. I think they showed well last week, and I think they'll continue that on. All right, let's get into the hoops here now. Everybody wants to talk about hoops. It's that time of year, March Madness here on Bettor's Last Stand. Thanks for listening to the program here on the Watchdog. If you want the full version or the go back and re-listen, or you missed something, whatever. I know I talk fast sometimes to try to get all this in. You can head to pineroomstudios.com, find all of our podcasts on there, all the shows, BLS and Bettor's Last Stand and Pine Cellar Girls and Soup and stuff and all that jazz on the pineroomstudios.com. You can also go to our YouTube page at the Pine Room Studios. You can listen anywhere you get your podcasts. You can go on the Watchdog Network, archives. You got all kinds of options there. Watchdog WV, follow them on social media as well as at the Pine Room Studios on social media. All right, so let's get into these numbers. Most bet teams heading into the tournament this weekend. 83% on St. John's minus 18.5 against Omaha. 82% of tickets. Now, these were fades in college football season, if you remember that. A lot of times, not blindly, but A lot of times the public gets this stuff wrong, so just take note. 83% on St. John's minus 18.5 against Omaha. 82% of tickets on Drake plus 6.5 versus Missouri. That would start to worry me. When public is on a dog, that's usually not good. Akron plus 14.5. 68% of tickets on them plus 14.5 against Arizona. That would scare me. High Point plus 7.5. 76% of tickets on High Point. That one doesn't scare me as much because Purdue is not very good. 76% on Arkansas plus 4.5 against Kansas. 75% against Michigan minus 2.5 against UC San Diego. I like that one because I like the other side there. 74% on Florida minus 28.5 against Norfolk State. 73% on Kentucky minus 10.5 against Troy. 69% on Alabama minus 22.5 against Robert Morris. 68% on Yale plus 7.5 against Texas A&M. And 67% on VCU plus 2.5 against BYU. The 12-5-13-4 betting system that we talked about last week, let me refresh it. We talked about it on the radio as well. If you bet every 12 and 13 seed, ATS and Moneyline, you've made money 12 of the last 16 NCAA tournaments. ATS-wise, you're up 75 and 53. 75 wins, 53 losses, 58%. You had UAB and Samford covering last year. You're up 17 units during that span over the last 16 tournaments. Moneyline bets, you're 41 and 85, but you're up 18.75 units. Last year, that included Yale, a 525 winner over Auburn. Number 12 seed Grand Canyon, plus 205 over St. Mary's. Number 12, James Madison, plus 205 against Wisconsin. This year's matchups, Purdue versus High Point, Texas A&M versus Yale, Maryland versus Grand Canyon, Arizona versus Akron, Clemson versus McNeese, whose coach has just taken another job in NC State. So that could be a major distraction for McNeese, who I thought was a little bit live, but maybe not. Michigan and UC San Diego in a 5-12. Memphis, Colorado State in a 5-12. And Oregon Liberty in a 5-12. Dating back to 1997 with only one exception, the 2014 UConn Huskies led by Kemba Walker, the eventual national champion, has been in the top 25 in offensive efficiency and combined offensive efficiency. Additionally, each champion during that time frame has had a top 50 ranking in the defensive efficiency category. So, if you go by those standards, the only teams that can win win the tournament would be Florida, Auburn, Duke, Alabama, Texas Tech, Gonzaga, Houston, Arizona, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Iowa State, and Clemson. So fascinating stuff there, no doubt about it. When you're talking March Madness, this stuff is quite intriguing. All right, a couple other trends I thought were interesting. Number 2 seeds. So number 2 seeds have had a little bit more difficult of a time than number 1 seeds getting through the early rounds. 2 seeds are just 14, 24, and 1 ATS in the opening round when laying 17 points or more. So keep an eye on that. When 2 seeds lay big numbers, sometimes trouble follows. Number 3 seeds, single-digit favorite number 3 seeds to be exact, are on a 20-7 under run. So 20-7 to the under, that's 74% since 2003. Mid-major conferences, number 7 seeds are 22-9-1 ATS since 2004, 71%, while number 7 seeds in the -3 to +3 range are on a 39-21-1 run ATS-wise since 2003. So 62.9% on that. 7 seeds from the mid-major conferences, 22-9-1 and 71%. So be on the lookout for those fitting that criteria. Big 12 Conference, 30-18 ATS, 62.8% in the first round since 2017. The last 46 Big East teams seeded number 7 or worse are just 12-34 straight up, 16-30 against the spread. Creighton, among others. So keep an eye out for them. I believe it's Creighton. Yeah, Creighton I think is an 8 or a 9. All right, Big Sky teams are just 1-23 straight up, 6-18 ATS, 25% in the tournament since 2001. So Montana State could be trouble. I think I like that game over. Coastal Athletic, that's the CAA, formerly the Colonial Athletic, 23-9-2, 71.9% as underdogs in this tournament. So, could be some intrigue with that one. So your Colonial Athletic teams representing themselves very well. Big Ten teams seeded number 4 are 4-13. 4-13-1, that is, 25.5% in their last 18 tournament games. Purdue. Mountain West teams are just 30-63 straight up, 29-61-3 ATS, 32.2% since 2001. Showed the other night, San Diego State gets massacred by North Carolina. So Mountain West, tread lightly. Missouri Valley teams are 20-15 straight up, 20-14-1 ATS since 2013. Can Drake do anything? We shall see. Public seems to like them. That's a problem. And then SEC teams favored by 20 points or more are 11-0 to the over. So I'll be getting on the Alabama. I do like that game over quite a bit. All right, let's dive into the girls here briefly. I don't have a ton of plays on the women's, but I will go through a few that I do have for you on Friday. Liberty and Kentucky. Kentucky, 16-point favorite here. I like Liberty. Now, I like Kentucky to win this game. I like Kentucky to make a deep run here, but I think Liberty will hang around. This could be a tricky game for Kentucky. I do think they win the game, but I like the Liberty Flames plus the 16. Indiana at Utah. These all, actually, this is a Friday game too, so you may have missed this one, but I will have it at BLS_PRP. These are early day Fridays. Indiana -2 against Utah. I like this game over the 138. Later in the day, Grand Canyon at Baylor. This game actually in Waco, so it is at Baylor. Baylor -16.5. I like Grand Canyon. I'll take the points with Grand Canyon and the Lopes on the road there in Baylor. And then TCU hosting Fairleigh Dickinson. TCU, very good defense. They are locked down on defense. Very good team. I like under 131 there. They're giving 30.5 to Fairleigh Dickinson, but I like the game under the total. A couple other games on Friday. Georgia Tech at Richmond. This one a 7:30 tip-off, so you can get that one out in L.A. It'll be Richmond -1.5. Total 138.5. I like points in this game. Georgia Tech can go up and down. Richmond, not great on defense. So over 138.5 in Richmond and Georgia Tech in girls basketball action. And then Lehigh against Duke. Duke -27.5, 130.5 is the total here. I like the under. Lehigh, I watched their championship game because I had a little action on it the other day. They're very limited on offense, and Kara Lawson's team is pretty good on defense. So under 130.5, Duke probably wins that game pretty easily. Some Saturday games, Arkansas State at UConn. They're catching 44.5, but I like the over in this game. I think there'll be some points. I think UConn scores 115 themselves. We'll go over 148.5 in that one. Florida Gulf Coast at Oklahoma. Oklahoma -14.5. Total 145.5. We're going over the total there. I think there'll be points in that game as well. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. South Dakota State catching 5.5. That's where I'm going here. I'll take the South Dakota State. Are they the Jackrabbits? Plus the 5.5 against Okie State. Norfolk State and Maryland. Maryland's -15.5. I like the over in this one. 145.5 will go over with Norfolk and Maryland. Oregon State catching 19.5 against North Carolina. That's a bit too many. I'll take the Beavers plus the 19.5. Creighton at Illinois. Illinois -1. The total is 137.5. I like this game. I think this is a low-scoring game. Lucky for either team to get out of the 60s, so I think under 137.5 makes a lot of sense there. Again, we're talking girls basketball tournament here first, and then we're going to shift over to the men. Quickly, a few teams that I think are worth a play. I mentioned them last week. I thought that the route for UConn, if they're in the USC bracket, I thought it made a lot of sense for them. So UConn coming out at plus 285 to win it all. They're minus 165 to make the Final Four. That seems a bit ridiculous. But I don't think they have any trouble. I like Kentucky a little bit to possibly make a little bit of a run into the Sweet 16. Maybe they're 20-1 to make the Final Four, but plus 155 to make the Sweet 16 made a lot of sense for Kentucky. Going up to the Spokane bracket, UCLA, the number one team there. I think this is between UCLA and NC State. UCLA plus 550 to win it all. NC State, I haven't been as impressed with them as I have been in past years. Plus 550 to make the Final Four. I don't love that. 43-1 to win it. They're the only other alternative I could get to in that bracket. It's Birmingham region, South Carolina on top in that one. Duke, the second seed. That's who I'm keeping my eye on. I like Duke here. They played South Carolina tough during the regular season. They have some very good wins. They're 45-1 to win it all. To make the Final Four, they're 6-1. I like Kara Lawson and Duke. I think they have a good shot, and I think they may actually run into the Mountaineers, who I think could be a Sweet 16 team here. I think the Mountaineers, they'll beat Columbia or Washington, and I really like them against North Carolina. Well, I actually like Oregon State in that game plus the points, but I think UNC wins it, and I think the Mountaineers can beat them. So Lady Mountaineers will be going on them. Sweet 16, you can get even money on them, so we'll take a shot with them, but I think it's South Carolina and Duke in that region. I like Duke to turn the tables on South Carolina, who's not quite as good. And then down at Birmingham, number 3, it'll be Texas and Notre Dame, the two teams I'm keeping an eye on. Not a fan of TCU as far as offense goes. Haley Van Lith can't do everything. No, she's not even that good. But I don't love them. I don't think they have much of a chance of coming out of there. But, Notre Dame, on the other hand, I do think they're 775 to win it all, plus 250 to make the Final Four. I think it makes a lot of sense to get on Notre Dame there. In Texas, I don't hate Texas. I don't love them. I'm very lukewarm on them. They're $6 to win it all. Don't think they'll have enough to get it done. I would lean towards whoever comes out of that left side of the bracket, UCLA or UConn, to win it all. But I can't count Notre Dame or Duke out on the other side. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'll post all these women's plays at BLS_PRP as well, so you can get those throughout the tournament and before the tournament even starts here on Friday. All right, few more minutes left here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 124. It's time for the NCAA Tournament games. Time to get into them. Let's just start it off on Friday. My plays on Thursday, just going through them since this was be recorded and released after the fact. I was on Louisville. I was on High Point in the over. I was on the Montana and Wisconsin game over. We were on Georgia Gonzaga over. Wofford and Tennessee under. We were on Arkansas. We were on Yale and under in that game against Texas A&M. We were on Drake, which worries me. That's a game that, as I sit here and thinking it over and seeing how the ticket count's coming in, I'm probably getting out of that Drake bet. I actually think Missouri's a pretty good team, and for the SEC team to be a 6.5-point favorite here, I think Missouri might beat Drake pretty good, but we'll see. I may get off that bet, so hopefully you are thinking the same thing. So sometimes if you don't like it, get out of it. Utah State and UCLA, I went under in that game, but I'm leaning UCLA. Omaha and St. John's was an overplay for me, and then UC San Diego, I like them to outright beat Michigan. We'll see. By the time you listen to this, you're probably laughing like, what an idiot, which trust me, would fit. All right, on Friday, March 21st, let's get it going here. Baylor at Mississippi State. Well, not at, but in the Raleigh region here. Mississippi State minus 1.5, total 144. I got no play on this game. I've seen some strong plays on Baylor, some strong on Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State, if they could get by this game, could actually maybe give Duke a little bit of a problem. Robert Morris in Alabama. Alabama minus 23, 165.5 the total there. We're going over with the Tide and the Colonials. Lipscomb in Iowa State. Iowa State minus 14.5 the total, 143 in Milwaukee. We're going over the total of 143. Colorado State and Memphis. Colorado State minus 2.5, total 147.5. This one in Seattle, Washington. I'm a little bit mixed on this. I like Colorado State. I think they have some good players, but I am kind of a believer in Memphis. They played some very good out-of-conference teams this year and had some very, very impressive wins. Take a look at Memphis's resume. I know their conference, it gets a little monotonous. It's a little boring, but I think they wake it back up, and I'm going to go with Memphis in this game against Colorado State. Vanderbilt and St. Mary's. This one in Cleveland, Ohio. It'll be St. Mary's minus 4, total 136.5. I like the under here. I think this is going to be a tough game. Lots of battling, not a whole lot of offense, under 136.5. Grand Canyon and Maryland. Maryland 10.5, total 150. I'll take the points with the Lopes plus the 10.5 for Grand Canyon. Norfolk State and Florida. Florida minus 29, 153.5 the total. No play here. Florida probably lights up Norfolk State. They can name the score if they choose. Maybe an over there. Troy and Kentucky. Kentucky minus 11, the total 152. We'll follow that SEC trend we mentioned earlier. We'll go over 152. New Mexico and Marquette. Marquette minus 4, total 153.5. The Mountain West trend works against me here. I do like New Mexico. They've been a team that I kind of liked all season. I would play them because I do not like Marquette at all, but the Mountain West trend is hard to get over. Akron and Arizona, or not at, but playing Arizona, the higher seed Arizona. Arizona minus 14, total 166. This one in Seattle. I think, well, I'm on the over here, but I would lean towards Akron in the points, but that's starting to get some public attention. But Arizona's been awful in these games, laying points. So give me Akron, give me over. Oklahoma and UConn. UConn minus 4.5, total 148. I don't like Oklahoma. Not been wild about UConn. This is probably going to be a sit-it-out type game for me, maybe an under, but I don't know if either one of those teams play defense well enough. So that's probably a sit-out. Bryant and Michigan State. Michigan State 17.5, total 152.5. I'll take Bryant plus the 17.5. I think they're just sneaky enough they can hang in. Michigan State's not going to be in any danger of losing that game, I don't think. But I think that Bryant can definitely hang in. And then Liberty and Oregon. Oregon minus 7.5, the total 139.5 in Seattle. So a big benefit there. I did like Liberty in this game, but now that it's, you're seeing that it's out west there near Oregon, could be a problem. But I lean Liberty. Small lean to the over in that one. A couple add-on games. Alabama State and Auburn. I had that game under on Thursday, the 150.5. And then on Friday, North Carolina and Ole Miss. I like this game over, and I like Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is the much better team here. North Carolina, don't let them fool you. Just because they beat San Diego State doesn't make them anything special whatsoever. All right, some futures here in the men's NCAA tournament here. Pine Room on the Watchdog. Not Pine Room on the Watchdog, but close enough. It's Bettor's Last Stand here on the Watchdog. As sometimes when you're in the host chair, it just becomes second nature to say the show that you do the most, and that is the Pine Room on the Watchdog. So tune in regularly Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Pine Room on the Watchdog. Love to have you. All right, so diving into this bracket here, I thought if you start up in the south because it is the top. That's kind of a what is that called? No, boy, I can't remember the term, but I'm not an English major, so that's not my job. Anyway, the South region, I thought there was 4 teams that can win this. It starts with Auburn. I don't love them by any means, but I thought Michigan State made a little bit of sense down at the 2 seed. I think UC San Diego is really good. If they get by Michigan, I think they can beat Texas A&M or Yale, and I think Ole Miss is really good. So I invested a little bit on a couple of bets here. I think Ole Miss at plus 280 to make the Sweet 16, 5-1 to make the Elite 8. I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people have them going out to North Carolina. I disagree with that. I think that they'll win that game. And then UC San Diego. It's quite a lofty thought process that they could do it, but every year there's always some team that shocks people. So UC San Diego plus 360 to make the Sweet 16, 12-1 to make the Elite 8. I'll take a stab with them. So I thought there was 4 realistic teams that I liked in the South region. The West region, Florida the number 1 seed, St. John's the number 2 seed. I was disappointed that both these teams are in the same bracket because I like them both quite a bit. Both may have been Final Four teams. And I know there's a narrative about Michigan State and St. John's that if you weren't ranked in the top 25 at the beginning of the season, you can't make the Final Four, you can't win it all. But I think the coaches kind of defeat that narrative here. I don't think St. John's has great depth, but I think Patino and then Tom Izzo at Michigan State, I think they're good enough, and I don't think the other teams are so great that they could, be in any kind of trouble at least early on. So St. John's definitely has a shot. Florida to me is the number 1 power rated team that I have in this tournament, and then I think Memphis is dangerous. I think Missouri, even though I was on Drake, I'm going to get out of that bet. I think Missouri could be dangerous, and I really like Texas Tech as well. So I made bets on these ones too. I'm at Missouri 250 to make the Sweet 16, 5-1 to make the Elite 8. Texas Tech minus 145 to make the Sweet 16, plus 135 to make the Elite 8. Memphis 6-1 to make the Sweet 16, 20-1 to make the Elite 8. Shifting over to the East region, Duke. I thought this was the weakest region by far. I really think this is almost a walkover for Duke unless Alabama can come to play, which they can. So I can't completely dismiss Alabama here. We'll keep an eye on the Crimson Tide, but they and Duke, the clear-cut number 1 thought process favorites in this region without a doubt. Duke just too short of a price to bet, plus 325. But Alabama, to me, was a little bit more fair. But you don't know what's going to happen with Alabama. Can they shoot the ball as well as they have? I mean, obviously that coach says, well, if teams make their shots, they're probably going to win. 16-1 on them. It's not a bad price for a team that has the talent to get the job done. So Duke and Alabama, to me, stand alone in that East region. But I think BYU could be dangerous, and I thought Mississippi State, should they beat Baylor, which is a weird matchup for them. But Mississippi State and BYU, both teams that I would take a small look at to make the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. And then down to the Midwest region, Houston, the number 1 seed there. Tennessee, the 2 seed. Tennessee's offense has concerned me all season long. Houston's offense concerns me all season long. So could we see an upset out of this? Absolutely. I don't know where to go in some of these games. McNeese is coach now leaving. Clemson, people like, but I don't like them. Their guard play is not good. Purdue, to me, stinks. Xavier's not any good, but Texas sucks. I think they'll beat them. Probably play Kentucky. Kentucky could probably beat Xavier, I think. And then here we go, down to the teams that I think have a dark horse chance. UCLA is going to have a really good matchup against Tennessee and Kentucky. So I think UCLA is live, and I think UCLA is worth a look. They're plus 320 to make the Sweet 16, plus 550 to make the Elite 8. And the winner of their game against Kentucky, in my opinion, will perhaps make a deep run. UK, even money to make the Sweet 16, plus 360 to make the Elite 8. So those are my bets down in the Midwest region. So teams I'm backing: Auburn, UC San Diego, Ole Miss, and Michigan State in the South region. In the West region, it's Florida, Memphis, Missouri, Texas Tech, and St. John's. In the Midwest region, UCLA, Kentucky, and Houston, with a small asterisk by Tennessee. I can see them, if they keep the games low scoring, they'll have a shot because they are a pretty decent team defensively. And then in the East region, it's a 2-horse race with a couple of small outside looks, but Duke and Alabama, That's where it stops for me. Mississippi State, BYU, if things really, really came together for them, perhaps. But Florida right now, number one power-rated team in my mind, clearly the best team in this tournament. Does that mean they'll win it all? I don't know. Chances are they won't. But I think if I had to make a play right now, I'd have Florida and St. John's in the Elite Eight playing each other. I would have Michigan State taking on I don't even know if I can give it to Auburn. That's a hard region for me because Michigan State and Ole Miss I like a lot. I think that game could be really good. I can even see Ole Miss winning that game. I don't think Auburn gets out of that. I don't know who could come out of there. I don't think UC San Diego can. I think it's somebody in the bottom. I think either Ole Miss or Michigan State comes out in the South. In the East, to me, this is a crash course for Duke and Alabama. Whoever shoots it better that day is going to get the job done. I'll lean Alabama in that game. I'll take a shot that they can knock Duke off. And then down at the bottom, to me, it's going to be Houston probably surviving out to the Elite Eight to play either UCLA or Kentucky or possibly Tennessee. I can't totally dismiss Tennessee. So that's kind of where I'm at. Texas Tech, another team. I thought if St. John's ran into any trouble, it could be them. But we shall see, and you never know about Memphis as well. So good stuff here from the college basketball tournament. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you find some winners. I'll post all my winners. I have some changes into my strategies too. I have some first half bets and things like that. So check it out, BLS_PRP. Some of these totals. Last night we were sweating out this Alabama State game, the under. It's like, oh my God, why play the first half under and you play the game under and you got it fouling and you got all this crazy stuff. Fortunately, Alabama State with the great Christian Laettner style, not the shot, but the Grant Hill pass down the court to getting a guy a layup there to win it they covered, but the game stayed under. So that was nice. Hopefully we see a lot of that. Hopefully the tournament is good. Hopefully you enjoy it. Again, reminder, high school basketball all day long here on the Watchdog. Also the Mountaineers in action. So best of luck to Wheeling Central boys this weekend. Best of luck to the Mountaineer women, who you can follow right here on the Watchdog Network. Mountaineer baseball you can hear right here on the Watchdog Network. And, of course, all the Pine Room and Watchdog programming you listen to each and every week. Again, thanks for listening to Bettor's Last Stand, show number 124, coming to you from the Watchdog Studios. Have a safe and wonderful weekend. Enjoy the NCAA Tournament, and we will see you back here next week on the Watchdog Network.